Hey, Larkin Rose here, and this will be one of many little videos I post showing little 10-minute exchanges as examples of the candles in the dark method of talking to people about statism and voluntarism, even though those terms never actually come up in these conversations. Here on YouTube, I'm going to post each little exchange in its entirety without editing, commentary, or analysis. Like the one you're about to see. For these, I have YouTube comments turned off to avoid any possible nasty comments aimed at the person I'm talking to. I'm then going to make a second video of each exchange just for subscribers of the Rose channel, which includes in-depth analysis of the candles in the dark method and the psychology involved on both sides from both people. The signs of success to look for, the things to watch out for, the pitfalls, and all that stuff. So here is the brief chat I had with Carrie. Now, we had some technical difficulties to begin with, so we pick up where we got things finally running smoothly here. This is right after I explained to her that this is not like an argument or debate. You don't have to prove anything. It's just me asking her some questions about what she believes. So here we go. All right. So the first, we start with a question that's so simple that it's silly, which is, do you think it's a bad thing if somebody breaks into your place and steals your stuff?
Yes.
Kind of obvious question. Now, the follow-up is, if somebody were to hire someone else to break into your place and take your stuff. For example, he says, like, well, I know where she lives and where she keeps her valuables, and you nasty, like, I don't dare to do it myself, but if you nasty thug break in and steal her stuff, we can split it. Do you think, first of all, do you think that that's bad?
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of obvious at this point. But second, what would you say to, let's start with the actual thief. What would you say to him if he says, well, it wasn't my idea. He just paid me to do it. I'm just following orders. I'm just doing as I'm told. It's not my fault. Would you buy that excuse?
No.
Okay. You think he's still culpable for the fact that he did it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I agree. I agree. Like I said, it starts with silly basic stuff. And if the guy who paid him said, well, I didn't do it. I was over here. I just paid him to do it. Would you buy that as an excuse?
No.
No. So you think they were both, they're both guilty of doing something bad. It was two different parts of the same bad. Okay.
Yeah, they're both equally guilty, I think.
Okay, and I totally agree. What if a bunch of people who, like in your neighborhood or something, they get together and say, we're gonna vote to have this thug go steal Carrie's stuff and divvy it up among us, and we're gonna call ourselves like the Board of Neighborhood Wealth Redistribution. If they did that and had a vote, would that make it okay in your eyes?
No.
No, I agree. Now, there's sort of a way to rephrase this. If there's something that's wrong for you to do, can it be right for you to ask someone else to do the same thing for you?
No.
No, I agree. Now, does it matter whether you're just asking them to or paying them to? Like, is there anything you can do that would make it right for your agent to go do something that would be wrong if you did it yourself?
No.
Okay. And again, I agree. What if you vote for somebody to appoint somebody, and it's done by way it's called legislation, and they're elected and stuff, and the victim, maybe even the victim was allowed to vote, but hey, he lost. He didn't have enough votes on his side. So if you voted for someone to like go take his stuff, is that okay? Is that morally acceptable in your eyes?
No.
No. Okay, I agree. So when it comes to political action, and the government is, it passes laws and it has enforcers, and it does what it does. Do you believe the agents of government, the enforcers, the cops, the tax collectors, the regulators, whatever, do you believe they have the right to do anything that you don't have the right to do yourself?
They shouldn't have more rights.
I agree.
I know. Then I have a lot of questions that go through my head. Whenever you ask that question.
Yeah. And if you can pause that, remember them, but pause them for a minute. Do you think, let's say that the guy who hired somebody else to break into your house and steal your stuff, and you caught them, and luckily they didn't, you caught them before it happened, and so they gave up and was like, oh, we were just going to try. And they said, yeah, but how do we pay our bills if we don't take your stuff? Do you believe that's a valid justification for them doing something?
No.
No, I agree. If they're not sure how else they might get money, does that make it okay for them to do such a thing?
No.
If government agents, whether local, state, federal, whatever, if they say, well, we really want to do this program over here, but we're not sure how we can do it if we don't force Carrie to help and lots of other people to help pay for it. Let's say it's something you don't even want, something you're against and you think is unnecessary or even destructive or something. Do you think it justifies them paying somebody to come take your money just because they say, well, we're not sure how it'll work otherwise?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
I think, yeah.
And do you want to bring up anything like the questions you were thinking of?
Well, it's kind of put my mind in the same sort of line as like, okay, well, I have to pay school taxes and I don't have kids. Why should I have to pay for school taxes when I don't even have kids that go to school? So I kind of get what you're.
Yeah. And I don't think
like I feel like it's unfair to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because now, okay, let's go in this direction then, because it ties into this nicely. Suppose somebody came along and said, we're offering you this deal. Right now it's just you, nobody else. You get to look at the budget of local school or local government, state government, federal government, all of them, and we spell out, here's the budget. And one of the things on the budget of, township or whatever may be the school tax. And anything that you don't want and you don't want to be forced to pay for, you can just go, no, I'm not going to do that. So you get to choose which things. It might be like, oh, well, you're fixing potholes. Okay, I'll fund that. I don't like this. I do like that. You can go down the list at all levels, local, state, and federal, and you can decide which things you pay for and which things you don't. First of all, would you like that deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that anyone who said
no, they wouldn't. Would you be willing to extend that deal to me if you got it and I get it?
Well, yeah, I think that's whenever everything's going to get complicated. Like you'll choose. Does it mean like each individual person gets to pay for whatever they want to support? Or is if I choose not to support a local school, then do you still have the option yourself to get to choose whether or not to support the local school? Like maybe you want to, but maybe I don't.
Right. Like maybe I have kids there. And maybe there may be something that you actually want government to do, and for whatever reason, whether I oppose it or I don't think I need it, like let's say there's road upkeep and I live off in a cabin in the woods and don't even use the roads or whatever the reason is,
right.
Would you extend to me the same thing saying, well, you shouldn't be forced to pay for stuff, even if it's stuff I want, you shouldn't be forced to pay for it?
I would.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should be forced to pay for anything, but I have no power to make those decisions.
I agree. Yeah, this is totally obviously a hypothetical because, it's not up to us. So there's only like 2 minutes left. So I'll quick throw in a couple other things. To look at it from a different point of view. So government is there and it writes its laws and it has its enforcers. Can you think of, well, you sort of already gave the example of taxes for schools, but can you think of another example where government commands you to do something or commands you not to do something, that you think the law is actually wrong, that you think that the law is not what it should be? Can you think of an example?
Oh yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is the fact that we have to pay insurance on our vehicles every. Well, the insurance, I think we should all be able to choose whether or not we want it. But also the taxes and registration that we had to pay on our vehicles. Like we pay for taxes on the same vehicle over and over every single year, and I
Yeah.
think that that's too much.
Yeah, they say you own it, but you have to keep paying just to hang
Yeah,
on to what you already paid for. Yeah,
right.
yeah, I agree, and I think that's unjust. Now, do you obviously it may be hazardous to not do that because they can, they'll ticket you, they might arrest you, they might steal your car, whatever. But do
Yeah,
you think you have a moral obligation to go along with that? Or do you think that if you could get away with driving and not paying that, is that legitimate?
I mean, if I could get away with it, then I wouldn't pay for these unnecessary things that I feel are out there.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally don't think you should either. So and this will sort of be the last question, to put that another way, when there is ever a conflict between your own conscience and your own sense of what's right and wrong and the dictates of a political authority, like their law says this and your conscience says, I don't think that. Is
Yeah,
there ever a case in which you should betray your own conscience and choose what you think is wrong, but they said you should do?
sometimes. Yeah, yeah. I've
Uh,
encountered that personally some a few times. So yeah.
okay. Your 10 minutes is up. You don't actually have to answer, but if you wanted to give an example, you can, or you can be done.
Okay, well, I just encountered a police officer 4 days ago. It was horrifying. I'm in Marathon, Florida, and I bought a scooter, okay, a little 50cc, and I go to this
Mhm.
restaurant that's zero point 0.3 miles down the road, and it's just a little connector road to the really busy overseas highway. And when I first go to this restaurant, there's no traffic, okay, on this busy road just for a split second. I mean, I was on that road for like maybe 2 full seconds to pull into the parking lot of the restaurant. Okay, so I'm
Mhm.
there, and whenever I leave the restaurant to come back to the RV park, I look down this big wide sidewalk. There's no one walking. There are no pedestrians, and the overseas highway was. I mean, it's just really busy. I guess work traffic or whatever, and it was kind of scary. And I didn't want to like take my little scooter out there with the really really busy traffic, so I just scooted about 100 feet on this sidewalk. A cop see me, and he whips in behind me, which he could have actually hit my friend who was on a scooter behind me, because I don't think he could have actually seen her. He whips in behind me, jumps out of his cruiser, and is like screaming at me. Like for 3 solid minutes, this man is just screaming. I mean, it was just angry. I thought he was going to charge me and knock me off my scooter, and I'm like, sir, we just came from right there and going to the connector road. But he still made me feel like I was subhuman or something by screaming. I mean, I used my
Mhm.
better judgment to not pull out into, with all this heavy traffic and just to use the sidewalk because there was no one there. Why couldn't I scoot 100 feet to get to my connector road? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of maybe a shallow example, but I mean, there's been other things in my life
Well,
too where
not
I
really.
question.
I mean, you got openly harassed by somebody. That's not very nice. And
He
do you
scared
think
me.
the fact that he has a badge or maybe even a law on his side that, well, technically you're not so blah, blah, do you think that makes it okay what he did? Or do you think
No.
whether or not he was legally in the right, he was morally in the wrong?
You know what? And he was screaming like, Admiral so and so lives here, and Colonel so and Colonel and Admiral, and all these big high official people. And I'm just looking at him like, what does that mean to me? Whenever I just scooted 100 feet on a sidewalk to be safer, when there was nobody,
Yeah.
no pedestrians. I don't know. It just, but
Yeah.
no, I think what he did was absolutely morally wrong by screaming at
Yeah.
someone who, I mean, was in shorts and flip flops, and obviously was not armed with anything. Was posing no danger to anyone else, and he couldn't think about like why I chose to do that. And I mean, I don't even know if there are
Yeah.
laws against right on the sidewalks, before I did that.
Yeah.
But obviously, I kind of figured it was bad, if people were walking on the sidewalk, obviously I would not have done that. But I don't know.
Right.
That was just something that happened to me recently that really shook me up,
Yeah.
and it affected. I mean, my mood is still affected by
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's traumatic to be like accosted by somebody, and somebody armed too, who's all mad and
Yeah,
hostile and like, ugh.
yeah, his hand was on his gun. I mean, when he jumped out of his cruiser, his hand was on, right there on his hip. Like, I don't know if he was
Yeah,
actually grabbing the gun, but what I mean, it was by his gun, and he was just,
yeah, yeah,
and I was just like, oh my god, I was just like, I don't know what to do.
yeah.
It's like
Well, that's,
scared the
I'm
crap out of
sorry
me.
you had to go through that, but it makes a very nice example of the difference
Yeah,
between, legally blah blah blah. I don't even know if he was legally right or not. Cops are wrong a
I
lot of the
don't
time
either.
that way too. But whether or not
I,
he was, morally, that's not a nice way to treat people. Totally, I totally
I
sympathize. I'm
mean,
sorry you had to go through that.
it's like it's okay. I get it. It's his town. He polices this town. It made him angry because I was on his sidewalk. He felt, I guess, it's like if I did something wrong to your property officer, then you could tell me I did something wrong and I will pay the ticket. But you don't need to scream at me for 3 minutes whenever I was clearly not doing anything that was going to hurt anybody else. You know?
Mm-hmm. And there's so many fun discussions we that can start from that about whether
Oh
it's
yeah,
actually okay to give you a ticket. But
yeah.
we're way well past the 10 minutes, and I very much appreciate your time. And we have another
Okay.
one lined up. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right. Well,
And
thank you.
and off the air, we're not on the air, but like let me know like where to send the $10 because thank you very much. I hope that was quick and
Oh,
painless for you.
well, all right. I wish we had more time. Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Talk to you
Okay.
later.
Okay. Bye.
So there you have it. For each one of these, pay attention to whether the exchange was friendly or confrontational. Were both sides relaxed and having fun? Did the other person seem eager to escape the conversation, or were they actually like interested and comfortable and maybe even hoping the discussion would continue later? So these are all things to watch for. And if you're a voluntarist, do your discussions with others go this way? I'm guessing usually not. And no, you can't really learn this method just from watching me do it, because while you can see what I do, say, and do, you can't see all the things that I avoided bringing up and avoided saying up and all the opportunities for conflict that I avoided. For that, you'll have to actually do the Candles in the Dark course, and the link for that is in the description below, and the link for the Rose channel where we include the analysis of these little exchanges. So that's all for now, and stay tuned for more of these. And as a last thing, if you haven't yet read The Most Dangerous Superstition, do. There's a link for that below too.